Hey, Jimbo, are you ready for this deal?
Turn him out.
Old stories like long lost friends, rodeos and late night bends, history before our time, round pens and pasture rides, cowboys of the Osage.
Howdy, friends and neighbors. Time once again for the Cowboys of the Osage podcast with your host, Jimbo Snively and Cody Garnett. Now let's sing a little bit about it. Cowboys of the Osage, riding once again. Always got some time for a friend. And here they are, the Cowboys of the Osage.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast, brought to you by the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum, the Buck and Flamingo Turquoise Shop, and now Saucy Calf, traditional Native American food, all located right here in historic downtown Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Hey, it's old Cody over here, and as always, I have my main man with me, Mr. Rodeo historian himself. Holy moly, everyone's been asking him for all kinds of rodeo history here lately. Jimbo Snively. Good morning, Jimbo. Good to see you. Who are we talking to this morning?
Hey, Cody boy, it's another great day in Osage, man. And Cody, we got Mr. Randy Majers with us today. And Randy is one of the great bull riders in the late 60s and all through the 70s. He was like a 9-time NFR bull rider, 2 times runner-up to the world. One time he lost the world championship in a ride-off. And we'll get into that, I'm sure, before we're done.
A ride-off?
Yeah, a ride-off.
Holy moly, I can't wait to hear about that.
Anyway, and he's full of stories, and I can't wait to get into it. He breeds champion quarter horses now down there on his place down in Texas, and we're just tickled to have him with us. Randy, welcome to the Cowboys of the Osage podcast.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on.
Well, we're glad to have you. You're kind of a legend.
I don't know about that.
Where were you raised up at, Randy?
Say that again.
Where were you raised at?
Oh, I was raised in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And I grew up there. My dad, he was in the car business and raised quarter horses. And been around horses my whole life. And I learned how to rope calves, and that's how I started. I got on bareback horses first when I was about 15 years old. And but I grew up out in Richland Hills, which is a little suburb of Fort Worth, and my dad had a little stock farm, we called it, down in Halton City. And Don McLaughlin taught me how to rope. And that's how it all got started.
Don actually lived down there, didn't he, before he moved to Colorado, right?
Yeah, he lived in Halton City, and he was still rodeoing. I didn't really know. I was young then. I was about 14.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't, he rodeoed on up into I guess probably the late 60s, 70s.
Yeah, into the 70s, yeah.
Right. Uh-huh.
Hey, Jimbo, for everybody that don't know who Don McLaughlin is, won't you give them just a quick history lesson on Don real quick?
Well, he started out as a trick roper as a kid at Madison Square Garden. Him and his brother Gene were trick ropers, and he was an original turtle. I mean, he joined the Turtles when he was 10 years old, and he started out as a trick roper, and then he got to roping calves, and he was like a 5-time world champion calf roper, just one of the all-time great calf ropers. Best hand at legging calves there ever was, probably.
Your family had a pretty close connection with him too, Jimbo. What's your connection with Don McLaughlin?
My grandfather sold him to Harry Lynn, and then Harry Lynn turned right around and sold him to Don McLaughlin, the old black horse.
Oh, the old famous horse.
Yeah, the old famous
one of the best ones to ever live.
Right, that he won 3 world titles on. But anyway,
He
go ahead, Randy.
I said I was going to say he loaned me that horse to go to Hallisville, Texas. I was in the calf roping and the bareback riding, and it was 1961. And I went down there by myself. I was 16 years old, and I took a tent with me because I was going to save money. And I found a place to put the horse in a stall, and I put that. It was an umbrella tent, and I put that umbrella tent up out there, pretty close to where I kept the horse. And there was a guy sleeping in the stall there, right next to where I put that black horse. And the guy ended up being Walt Garrison that played football for the Cowboys. And him and I became real good friends. And I invited him to sleep in my tent with me. And he had rode a bus down there to Hallettsville. And Walt, he worked all the events. He was pretty good cowboy. And anyway, he was a year older than me. I think I was in a sophomore and he was a junior. And he lived in Louisville, which is real close to Richland Hills. So I gave him a ride back to Louisville when it was all over with, and we became real good friends.
Wow.
It's a kind of a Wild West deal. When he told me that his grandpa owned that black horse, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it's kind of a small world. Rodeo's
a small world.
A small circle.
Right.
Didn't your grandpa win the world on him?
Yeah, he won the world on him in 1956, and then Don won the world on him 3 times after that. But, yeah, he's a real famous horseman, and he lasted a long time. He rode him all the way into the 70s when he was way up in his 20s, still winning on him.
What is it about a cowboy every now and then? They have one of the best horses going. They know it. Everybody else knows it. And then they end up selling him. My dad's done it. I've done it. I've sold myself a foot I don't know how many times, Jimbo.
Yeah. We just moved out there, and he bought a ranch and kind of needed the money and just sold him. And thought he'd get another. He never had another one. Of course, he was getting toward the end of his career anyway. At that time, Jim was.
Everybody thinks they can make another one and find another one, but boy, howdy, you learn real quick.
Yeah.
Dang, I miss old Black.
They don't grow on trees, do they? No. Well, how'd you get interested in bull riding, Randy?
Well, like I said, I was a calf roper, and I wasn't a very good bareback rider at all. And when I went to college at Tarleton State University that first year, I'd got on a few bulls, but not many. I didn't really like riding bulls; they scared me. And
they do me too.
My rope, back then, it was team time,
right?
Where the header would get off and tie a square knot on the steer. So we had that in the intramural rodeo at the college. And I let my roommate heel on my calf horse. And I had a really outstanding calf horse. And he ran him into the steer. The header, I wasn't heading, but the header roped the steer and, turned him back. And he ran in there and I don't know how, it's just an accident, but hit that steer in the head. And that horn went in his chest and it killed him. Well, when he got killed, I started getting on more bulls, and that's how it all started. But, the good Lord works in strange ways. If that horse hadn't got killed, I'd have been a mediocre calf roper instead of a fair bull rider.
Right.
I've always went on the philosophy, once they get too big to rope, I eat them.
That's right.
That's the way I thought. I didn't really want to ride bulls. They scared me. But that's just something I could do. It's like, I was friends with Roy Carter and Punk Carter, and of course John Carter was a cutting horse trainer, and I'd go stay with them during the summer. And John wanted me to get on bulls there at Gladewater was having a youth rodeo in 1963. That'd be a year before I went to college. And anyway, he made me get on steers and some old cows about 3 days in a row. I mean, I had blisters on my hand because I was just getting on with a rope. I didn't put no glove on, and but I could just ride. I could ride them. And Roy Carter will tell you to this day that the bull I rode at Gladewater is the best ride he's ever seen. And he said he saw Quintana ride B61 there at Gladewater. But he said the bull I had was, I remember the bull is A1. But what they did at that youth rodeo, they just shoot run the bulls. Well, John told me, he said, don't worry about it. Said, I'll make sure you don't get no bad bull. Well, as it turned out, there was a Bramer. This A1 was a big Bramer with high horns. He runs in there. The kid that had him, he cuts out. He don't show up. So I got that bull, and Roy is only like, he's about 10 years old then. I was 18. And I was in my rope, and they run that big bull in there, and I went, Roy, ain't no way I can put that rope on that bull. You're going to have to do it. And there's this 10-year-old kid putting the rope on the bull. And I couldn't tell you to this day which way he turned back. But Roy said, well, Don Graham was there, too. They saw it. But I won the bull riding, I won the bareback riding, placed in the calf rope, and won the all around. And I still got that saddle, 1963, at the Glade Youth Rodeo.
Never another poor day.
Do what?
Never another poor day.
That's what I thought. Yeah, but I'm afraid it don't work out that way. But that's the way I got started.
Were they having...
John Carter just put me on there and said, bear down.
Right. Well, you must have been kind of natural, maybe.
Well, I really was. But I think the reason I rode so good, my dad, when he wouldn't let me saddle a horse till I got to be about 12 or 13 years old. He said I could ride anytime he wasn't around bareback. And that's what I did. I rode a lot bareback. And what it did, it taught me to get up off my fanny and ride correct with my whole leg and everything.
Right.
And that's what I think these guys nowadays don't understand. I mean, it's not rocket science to ride a bull, but you got to keep your fanny stuck to your rope, stuck to your hand. You can't ride bucking bulls on the end of your arm. It just don't work. That's why you see a lot of these guys, they get thrown down underneath them and stuff. I mean, you can watch it on TV.
Right.
Jimbo,
you can't ride.
How many people has been on this podcast, some of the best jockeys, some of the best riders in the world, period, and every one of them said just what he said. They learned to ride bareback. I'm talking about Lynn. I'm talking about Wenda Johnson. I'm talking about several of these, the best riders we know. And they said that's how they learned to ride. And that's how they learned to ride so good.
Right. Absolutely. I believe it.
It does. When you ride a horse bareback, you have to ride correct. You're not really I'd hold on to the mane a little bit, but I could. But I rode ever since I was. I got since I was 3 years old. And it's just natural to get. It's like me sitting in this chair talking to you. I'm sitting back on my behind. Well, you don't, and you watch these guys that are getting on nowadays. They're sitting flat of their fanny, and you don't ride bulls. It's a fine line. You just rock up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. But
if you can't understand what I just said, then you don't know how to ride a bull.
What do they call those guys? Is it Reuben Roundass? Is that a guy that rides don't sit in back?
No, Reuben. I don't know.
I've heard that a few times through the years.
How about?
I wonder who the first Reuben was that sat back.
I don't know how. I always heard Willie Everride.
yeah, I've heard that one too.
Willie Everride.
Randy, was Neil Gay having those that mesquite rodeo back then, or was that before that?
No, he had. When I got my permit. Now I told you I was scared of bulls, and Kenny Brothers that was out of Louisiana,
Right.
Jim Shoulders out of Oklahoma, and Neil Gay at Mesquite, buddy. I had a don't enter sign up there for them. I heard they had some bucking, hooking stuff going. And finally, whenever I did, I look back at how it started. I'd go to Benbrook. Benbrook had a little buck out up there, and I'd drive from Comanche because after I got married and out of college and started rodeoing, I'd go up there to Benbrook, and they'd have jackpots, and I could pay Roland Reed $5 and get on the bull, and I'd pick out a bull that I knew that I really knew that I could ride. I didn't, because I was learning, and I think that helped me a bunch too, because you can't learn anything if the bull throws you off. You're gonna learn that the ground's hard.
Did you ever go down there to Mansfield to the Cowbell Arena? I believe.
Oh yeah, I went. I never got in. I never did rodeo amateur. I went to 2 amateur rodeos my whole life, but I went ahead like in '66. I got my permit, and then when I joined the RCA in '67, I never did. I went to Logan Huffman had an amateur rodeo over around Waco. I remember me and my dad went over there, and then Comanche had an amateur rodeo, and I went to it. I got thrown off. Lloyd Woodley had the Comanche rodeo, and I remember Chick Elms remembers that one. He said he was there, and I remember that bull throwed me off and got me, but I run too fast. He couldn't catch me. And then I went to the one that Logan Huffman had, and I won second in the bull riding over there. I rode a pretty good bull. And, but I got an RCA and it just all worked out. I don't think anybody can say they know they're going to make the NFR or anything like that. I hear guys say that was they had that goal. They were going to, when I got in, I just hoped that Harry Tompkins and Jim Shoulders would like me. That's what I hope.
Yeah.
It's like when I went in '68, I went to go around at Houston, and I was still in college. Well, you either went to college back in those days or you went to Vietnam. You had a choice, and I kind of picked college. But anyway, I want to go around to Houston, but I was more thrilled and talked about Dallas Chartier loaning me his rosin to rosin my bull rope. I was more proud of that than winning the go-round because I felt like the guys were accepting me.
Right.
And about that time, they nicknamed me, I think it was Ronnie Rosin, R.C. Bales, and Dan Willis. They give me my handle that I had, and it was Jewhead because I was tight with the coin. And they all started calling me Jewhead. And to this day, guys will see me and they'll go, "Hey, Jewhead," and I'll turn around, answer. Paul Mayo and Clyde Van Boris, Jim Houston, they all call me Jewhead. Because if you didn't have a handle, then they didn't like you.
Right. Yeah, that was a sign of affection to give you a nickname.
Well, really, it's like David Glover was hateful. And he called me Jewhead, and I called him hateful. But it's like Glover. I was at, what brings to mind that, I was at Ogden, Utah, 1967, my first year. And I remember Glover, and I don't remember who else. There was more that, tough bull riders I was staying with. They let me stay in the room with them. And Glover was looking through my bag, and I was riding with some John Hawkins spurs I'd bought from him. John won the bareback riding, I think, in '63. I believe it's 60. But anyway, I was over at Dallas, me and some other kids, and he was selling spurs. He made spurs, John Hawkins. He was from out in California. And that's what I was riding with, them Hawkins spurs. Well, I had another pair that I started out with that I got from Larry Brumbaugh that has Brumbaugh's furniture in Fort Worth, over between Fort Worth and Weatherford. He had found these spurs in a welding shop. And Glover, he pulled them out of my bag and he said, "This is what you need to be riding with." And he pointed out that the shanks were rolled in. I didn't even know. But when Glover told me that, I started riding with them spurs. I rode with them for 20 years. Still got them. But, I just sat back and listened to the guys and tried to learn from all of them.
Sure. Well, that first year you made the final, 69, you rode, you got on 101 bulls and only got bucked off 19 times. That's quite a percentage.
Woo.
Yeah, most of the guys back in those days, I tell you what, these guys nowadays riding 20% and 30%.
Right.
You'd be flipping burgers at the Dairy Queen because you'd be trying to get you some money to get to the next rodeo. Right. But what changed, really the big change is the money that's out there for these guys to ride for. I laugh. I went to it was a memorial for one of our friends that passed away, and Bobby Steiner. He was there, and he goes, "Hey, Jewhead," he said, "if you were going now, you'd be a millionaire." And I said, of course, money didn't make no difference to Bobby. And Bobby said, I said, "Bobby, wouldn't we all be millionaires?" And it would be. I've said this. If the guy, I call it the Donnie Gay era. And if all those guys were riding nowadays, it'd be the toughest bull riding you ever saw. And maybe I shouldn't say that, but I am.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, you got to tip your hat to Donnie Gay. Donnie Gay got up 8 years, and he had to beat 40 guys every year. Because there was guys that didn't make the finals that were tough. I mean, really tough.
Right.
There was just a lot of tough bulls from your Denny Flynn to your Bobby DeVecchios, Ricky Lindsay, Ricky Boland.
Ronnie Bowman.
And Ronnie Bowman. I'll tell you what, I even forget about Bowman, but Bowman was as tough a bull rider as anybody. I mean, he really was. He didn't like to travel, though. He didn't like to go. But I always said that PBR deal, where they don't have to go nowhere, that'd be right up Bowman's alley.
Yeah, he could go to 50 a year instead of 101 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And the money's
That's right.
better. And the money's better, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, and also, I don't take nothing away from the Jim Shoulders, Harry Tompkins days. I don't think there was as many Harry Tompkins and Jim Shoulders out there during Donnie's time. Well, like Marvin Shoulders. He was as tough as anybody.
Right.
And he won the NFR average 1 year.
Yep.
Rode as good as anybody ever saw.
Right.
And Donnie had to get up and beat these guys to win his 8 world titles. And I've heard guys say, "Oh, if old Joe Blow was there, he wouldn't have done it." Baloney. I was there and saw it. And Donnie was he had a different attitude than anybody. What Donnie had was an attitude like, to put it in perspective, maybe a Joe Montana.
Yeah.
Or one of those real great quarterbacks that you just couldn't beat.
Right.
They were going to beat you.
Right.
I don't know if a lot of rodeo fans even nowadays even realize what a great bull rider Donnie Gay was. They might not even know because he's just a sports commentator now. And he was the real deal. 8-time world champion. That'd probably never be duplicated ever again in the bull riding.
I don't think it will. Kimsey got close, but and I'm not taking nothing away, but maybe I am. The quality of bull riders to beat. It's
Hey,
like I said.
while we're talking about
Go
Donnie Gay, let's talk about that wild year at the NFR.
Oh, the 77 year.
Yeah.
That was a good
Okay.
year for me because that's the year I was born, but it doesn't sound like it's such a good year for you when Jimbo was telling me about it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Why'd they do it that way? I mean, just like they
well,
were
what
trying-
it was, what they were trying to do, they were trying to fix it to where a guy that got out there and really gassed it and got way ahead, you couldn't catch him. Okay, they've got it fixed now where the guy in the 15th hole in any event can go to the finals and you can win the world. Well, I've watched them do it.
Right.
I watched a couple of them calf ropers went in the bottom hole and they ended up winning the world. You know, because they had a good 10 days.
Right.
Whoever's the luckiest the 10 days in the top 15, they're the ones that's going to win the world.
That bulldog
And,
is usually tighter than heck, with just a few
Oh, yeah.
$1,000s between 1st and 15th.
Well, I know who I'll put my money on. I'll put it on old Waggisback.
That guy is a machine.
Yeah.
Well, he bulldogs correct, and he's got a good mental attitude, and he beats the fannies when he gets there. So they better get, if they're going to beat him, they better get way, way ahead.
It doesn't look like he takes any shortcuts, It looks like he does
No.
everything real proper and real right every single time.
Well, they're like, Duval's the one that started all that. The way that bulldog and everything. I mean, you can't take away from those guys back in those days either, because they could come back and be 20 years old and then beat your fanny. That's what gets me. People forget about it. It's like you said, people might not even know Donnie Gay now.
Right.
And it's true. It's like, you're not going to tell me that Dick Butkus couldn't crawl back and be 20 years old and be the toughest linebacker out there. He could.
Right.
People don't know their history.
Right.
They don't pay attention. It's like you said, what y'all were talking about, the horses. I guarantee you they keep talking about this and that that's out there doing it now. They forgot about one little feedlot pony that a little girl, 14 years old, won 10 world titles.
Clayton, New Mexico.
And I guarantee you can't even find anybody to tell you how that damn horse was bred. But
Right.
he did. Who's going to beat what Charmaine did?
Probably nobody.
Nobody. They were talking about Haley Kinsel, this and that, but she ain't got, she's won 4. She's got 6 more to go.
Right.
And the horse, I don't, no way. She ain't going to do it. They ain't none of them going to do it.
No.
That's a feat in itself. It's like you said. Well, I think the greatest racehorses is Secretariat and, I started to rattle off War Admiral, but no. Seabiscuit, Seabiscuit, Secretariat. I think they're the greatest racehorses that were out there.
Right.
And like you said, you said you sold one, and I think he said what he was talking about, the grandpa selling that black horse to Don. But you're not going to come up with another one like it. It's like I won reserve world title with a horse called Pepto Bar Legacy. I called him Boonie. I won reserve in 206. And he died about 2 months later of colic. I've been looking for another one since 206, and I ain't found it yet. And I've got 1 foot in the grave, so I'm gonna run out of time. But
my dad did the same thing. He had a horse. I think he placed in 7 go rounds at the national finals one time, and sold him to T Woman the next year. That buckskin tripping horse that T Woman used to ride, Old Dutch, came from my dad. And boy, howdy, we regretted selling that son of a gun every day since.
Money's gone, and you don't have
money's gone. We sold him for $15,000, Jimbo.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
One of the greatest steer horses to ever live.
Yep.
Right.
Hey, let's get back to that 1977 finals.
Okay. 1970, what they did in 76, everybody went to the NFR's even.
Clean slate.
Everything's white, clean slate. So whoever won the finals was going to be the world's champion.
Well, they didn't even have a final. They didn't even have an average winner.
No, they didn't have an average.
They just went by money.
Right. So anyway, at the 10th go round, Donnie and I were tied, even Steven. I think we had $6,400 won or something like that. And so they said if you were tied, they had 5 or 6 bulls pre-designated in case there was going to be a ride-off. Anyway, so Donnie drew T13 of Steiner's, and I had Ring Eye. I drew him. And Ring Eye didn't have that good a day. I was 74 points. Donnie was like 77, but neither one of us placed. So that's what created a ride-off. And I drew 67. He threw Butler Brothers. He threw me Butler and Son, rather. He threw me off, and Donnie had 11 of Dale Hall's. He rode him, and he was the world's champ. But I can say I come close.
That's as close as you can come, I'd say.
For 5 minutes. But it wasn't meant to be. It's like, this is strange, but my college career was exactly like my professional career. In 1965, I was reserve world champion in the NIRA, the Intercollegiate Rodeo Association. In 1967, I was reserve world champion. So in pros, I was 75, I was reserve. In 77, I was reserve. So it's identical. And then I wanted to win something with the horses, and I was reserve world champ in it. So I ain't meant to be the old champo.
You're just a bridesmaid.
I'm a bride, yeah. But
nothing wrong with that.
Second's better than third.
Well, I mean, it sure is.
And he's got an asterisk beside his name. Is this the only the only 2 bull riders to ever have a ride-off for the world championship?
Ever. Yeah.
I mean, I've never heard of it before, during, or since.
No, and probably never happened again.
Donnie said one time when they interviewed him that he figured that record he's going to hold forever, that nobody will do that, which probably won't be, but they have to mention my name. Well, they don't have to. They can say Donnie beat somebody.
Yeah.
But
you'll always be in the record book there on that one.
The only write-off for a world championship.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
I didn't understand, Randy, that year they gave an average in the timed event, but they didn't even have an average in the rough stock. Why was that?
I don't know. I really don't know.
That was the only year, I think. But that's crazy.
They did that clean slate in 76, 7, and 78. Because, see, that's how Butch Kirby ended up. He won a little more money than Donnie at the finals, and he became the world's champ.
But I think those other years they gave an average. You know, they crowned an average, and they didn't. They just went totally by money won.
Right.
But I don't know why. It just seemed like they were trying to screw things up. But they came to their senses finally and got back to the way it's always been.
Well, it got good when they moved it to Vegas in '85. When they moved it to Vegas, then it's out there where the money is, and that's how they got. Because if they'd have left it in Oklahoma City, they'd have never got it built up to paying $30,000 a go round.
Yeah, I believe that.
I mean, it's unreal what it pays out there and what a guy can get. I was always curious. Somebody said, "Did you win any go-round buckles?" I said, "Go-round buckles?" I said, "They didn't give no go-round buckle." I said, the first year I went, it paid $275 a go-round. It's like I won a go-round, I won second to go-round, I won fifth in the average, I won $724.
Dang, that was
And
big
that's
money.
it. That way it was all right, $724 in 1969. Pickups cost maybe $2,700,
Yep.
and where they cost $100,000 now.
Right.
Yeah, and gas wasn't maybe 50 cents a gallon,
Right.
something like that.
Makes you wonder how
You
the
know.
guys beat that road up anymore, with these $100,000
Well-
trucks, $200,000
Well, all you gotta
trailers,
do-
$100,000 horse, $5
Right.
gas.
Diesel. Yeah.
Well, they got patches on their shirts.
Yeah.
That's how they do it.
A lot of
Got
those guys
somebody
wearing the Wrangler
sponsor.
patches, they just get a discount on their jeans, though.
Maybe so. I laugh when we went. We got a pair of jeans, pair of Wranglers, and 2 shirts. That's it. Nothing else.
They didn't
And
know, they didn't know what a sponsor was back then, did they, Randy?
You
got
couldn't be advertising like that with if you went and found one, you couldn't be wearing no shirt like that or something. But I laugh. They do the big ceremony of the numbers now.
Mm-hmm.
I told somebody, I said, yeah, we had a number ceremony. We went in there and paid $100 entry fee. And June Ivory gave us our number and said, get the heck out of here. I said, that's the way our number ceremony was.
How did you guys
people don't
enter
realize-
rodeos back in the 60s and 70s? What was the protocol
Called
for getting your name in the hat?
Well, Procom didn't come along until the early 70s. Brian McDonald and Jerome got that started, and there was another guy from up in New York that rodeoed. He was going to school, I think, at Fort Collins with Jerome and Brian. Anyway, they're the ones that started Procom and got the thing rolling. But it was it's like somebody was wanting to know about day money. Day money didn't come around till the 80s. There wasn't no day money, and that's where you pay double. Your fees are doubled. Like instead of $25, the fees would be $50 or $100, and half that money would go into the night you're up. Didn't have it in slack. I think they still got it. I don't know.
I remember day
don't
money.
know.
That's just whoever wins that performance gets the day money.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't
And
know
if
if they
you're the
still got
only
day
guy-
money or not.
Well, the way it works, everybody that rides their bull, they split that money. So I just remember this, for instance, one time at Salt Lake City, I picked up mine and Flynn's check. And Flynn won the bull ride and I won second. But my day, I was the only one to make the whistle in the night I was up. So my check was bigger than Denny's and he won it. But my day money was it was right at maybe $1,000 or $900 or something like that. I remember that because I picked our checks up.
Did you ever get? Go ahead.
What they would do? How many? Say there's 10 guys up that performance. Well, all 10 of them, half of their entry fee went into that performance. Well, if 2 guys ride, they split that money up. If 3 guys ride, the 3 of them split it up. Or if everybody rides, everybody gets gets a little check back.
Well, they do that now in these big tournament style
Yeah,
rodeos.
I'm sure they do. Yeah.
Where if just
Right.
1 or 2 bull riders ride, they get the whole pot. For
Oh,
that
yeah.
day. I mean, it's a good
Right.
payday. It's a good payday. Did you ever get
Yeah,
hurt?
that's how.
Did you ever get hurt real bad, Randy?
The worst I ever got hurt was when a bull at Crowley, Louisiana, he threw me off and stepped on me, and he shattered my collarbone and messed up the rotator cuff. And I should have quit because I was I was probably in my 40s then. I should have quit in '83 is when I should have quit. I ended up, because I started like in 1979, I ended up 16th. Then in 1980, I ended up 16th. Well, I look back, the reason I'm ending up in 16th is because I'm getting too doggone old.
Yeah.
That's plain and simple.
Yeah.
So these guys, I laugh at these guys. I done been there, done that. You know, they're going, "Oh, he's 38 years old." Well, you're messing. You're not going to get better as you get older. I don't care what you say, what anybody says. It's kind of like I saw a Ace Reed joke one time. This old cowboy standing on the corner. He's talking, said, "I'm roping better than I ever have in my life." And the two old cowboys looked at each other and said, "He didn't rope very good when he was young."
Right.
You know,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's really what it boils down to, because you can't beat youth.
No.
And bull riding is sure enough a youthful sport. And when I was 38 years old, it was 1983. I ended up 18th, and I ended up 79, 16th, 80, 16th, and I was mad because I didn't get to the finals. And so 81, 82, I didn't really go a lot. Well, 83, I got out, and I think I went to 80 rodeos. I won 47,000, but I ended up 18th. That's because I was 38 years old. But what I am proud of, they used to have, they'd take the 16th man through the 21st, and they went and they would get to ride during the Wrangler bullfight. And they called it the protection competition for the bullfighters. You'd get on two bulls, and I won it that year. And
I'd never heard of that. How long did they do that, Randy?
I think that was the last year they did it. That was 83. In 84, they had it. I don't think they had it in 84. And then 85, they moved it to Vegas, and they never did it out there.
Yeah. I read that in your bio, and I thought that was interesting because I wasn't aware of that. Were you, Cody?
Oh, no, I was not. I was a big fan of Wrangler bullfights too, Jimbo.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they used to. I went to it twice, but I won it that last time. Of course, they didn't give they give money. I won. I think I won $4,000 at it, which was pretty good for getting on two bulls.
Right.
But I should have quit right then. I was riding good. I was competitive, but I still ended up 18th.
Right.
Well, I'd missed the last time I actually went to the finals was 78. Like I told you, 79, I was 16th. In 80, I missed them. I missed them in 79 by $400. I missed them in 80 by $16.
Wow.
So, it's really devastating when you have been to the finals several times and then you don't get there. Because even today, the guys at Rodeo, if they don't make the finals, they're broke.
Right.
They're broke.
They run the
If they tell you the truth,
yeah.
if they tell you the truth, they will admit that your profit is at the NFR. But nowadays, with $30,000 go-rounds, why, sometimes my mind, I think, boy, I could ride them bulls. But I don't. I told somebody, asked me one time, said, "Hey, Majors, you gonna get on a bull?" I said, "Tell you what, you go find a 79-year-old bull, and I'll get on his ass." They shut up and leave me alone when I say that.
Yeah.
You can't do for youth. I mean,
no.
I laugh at these guys going, or the announcers saying, "Oh, this boy's 18 years old." And I'm thinking to myself, man, when I was 18, I could ride circles around you. But nobody, they just go, "Oh, he's an old man. He don't know what he's saying." Well, I do know what I'm saying. It's like you take Harry Tompkins and Jim Shoulders and bring them back. Well, shoot. I'm glad. When I got in 1966, when I had my permit, I got to see Harry Tompkins, Jim Shoulders, Jack Bushbaum. I saw the greats, and they are the greats.
Right.
And they're not going to change my mind. I'll go to the grave thinking what I'm thinking. I can't help it if I make people mad. I don't care. I've lived a long time. And I've seen a lot.
Tell us
It's
about,
like knowing
go ahead.
Don McLaughlin.
Yeah.
They don't even, you can go down to you could go to Fort Worth during the roping and go, hey, anybody know Don McLaughlin? They'd look at you like you're a fool.
Right.
They don't even know. And I guarantee you, Don, I know how to leg a calf as good as anybody in the world, because he was one of the greatest that ever legged. I didn't learn how to flank a calf till I went to college.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you I did. I had my rope horse was as good. Well, they ain't nobody packing one going down the road today as good as he was. And they can just say, well, that old man don't know what he's talking about, but I do.
Cody.
It's like I was around great horses my whole life. Till you ride a great horse, you don't know what one's like. It's just like you two were saying, you wished you hadn't sold that tripping horse. Well, you ain't come across another one as good as him, have you? The one you sold to Woolman.
Oh, no.
Okay. Well, I had never, my kid horse that my daddy bought was half Shetland, half quarter horse. I'd show him in them play days and stuff, and I guarantee you a grown man get on him and go gather cattle and rope and do whatever you wanted to on him. And I had him when I was 6 years old. And see, my dad bought Pocatibio, if you know anything about breeding. Pocatibio was one of the greatest horses ever by Pocawayna by King. And King is the cornerstone of all of the horses. But it's like I said about Charmaine James. I guarantee they can't even tell you how that horse was bred. But you're not going to find one like it. And Charmaine won 10 world titles. What else can you say?
How was that horse bred?
I don't know.
He looked kind of like one of them Burt horses. Maybe had a little bird in him.
Well, he could have been. I mean, I don't know. I know one thing. I heard the story that they rode him in the feedlot, and they were going to make a heel horse out of him, but he couldn't run fast enough for them. That's what's so funny. And then she got him and got the monkeying with him, and then it's just all history, you know. And the thing is, you know, people want to say, well, he couldn't win today. Yeah, he could, because it hadn't changed anything. They ain't moved that pattern at Las Vegas. They bring him back, I guarantee he'd outrun them again. But now, if you made him young,
right?
Because the horses are just like me and you. When they get older, they lose what they've got.
Yeah.
They don't get better as they get older. They lose some of that youthful gas that they had, and they slow down.
Randy, tell us about when you rode Oscar and what made Oscar so good and so famous.
I got on him 4 times. First time I got on him was 73 at the NFR. Me and Pete Gay and I got on him. He bucked us both off. He lost a little gas in 74. It's like I said, the older they get, and he was that some gun was a bucker whenever he was in 73. I mean, he could get it. He still bucked. In 74, John Davis rode him. He's the first guy to ride him at Salinas. But I didn't think he should have won the bull ride. I thought Guy Barth should have won it on Red One. But anyway, John rides him. Well, in 75, Chick Helms and I went to Kingman, Arizona, to Poway, California, to the Cow Palace. Well, we entered Poway, and I drew him there, and he throwed me off at the finals in 73, and he also throwed me off at Salinas. And I think it was 73 that he throwed me off in Salinas. Anyway, I draw him at Poway, and I rode him there, and I won the bull riding. And then I drawed him again. That was 75. And at the finals in 75, in the 10th go-round, I drew him again, and I rode him there and won the go-round. But he was a bucker, but and he was rankest in 73, in say the late 60s, 69 up to 73. But as he got older, he slowed down a hair. He still didn't get rode, but he only got rode, I think, 8 times his whole life.
Right. Out of 300.
And I'm the only, right, out of 300 and something. And I'm the only right-handed guy to ride him 2 times.
Wow.
Because nearly everybody that rode him were left-handed.
Was he a crossbred bull or a straight bramer?
He was a bramer. I think he had something else in him, though. He wasn't straight bramer.
Yeah.
There was something else there because I never did like bramers, though. I didn't like the humps. I didn't like the humpies. They're harder to ride to me.
Right.
A bramer. B61, he was a bramer. He had a lot of bramer. He had something else, but I don't know what it was. But I got on him 3 times, and he throwed me off.
What was the best?
Probably
that's what I was going to ask you. What was the best bull you ever got on, you thought?
The buckinest bull I ever got on was 27 of Butler Brothers. And I guarantee the only guy I know that rode him and never got back on him was George Paul. And I made George madder than a wet hen at Albuquerque because Cornell was getting on him, Bill Cornell. This is 1968. We're standing on a platform behind the chutes there at Albuquerque. And we're right behind the Cornell getting on him. Well, Cornell was going to hold that gate, and Sonny Linger took that sheet hook and whacked his hand, and he got it off the gate. And anyway, he threw Cornell off handily, and George is standing there, and he said, "I can ride that so-and-so." And I said, "Don't bet your ranch on it, buddy." And, of course, George was he's 5'11", he's a lot bigger than me. And George could fight now. He got up in my face. He said, "Don't you tell me I can't ride him." I just said, "Don't bet your ranch on it, George." Well, he did. He rode him at the finals that year that he won the world, which was 68. But he never got back on him because George got killed in 70. But but he didn't rodeo that next year in 69.
Right.
And 27 broke his back at it was Albuquerque with Doug Brown. But Doug still won, I think, 3rd on him with him breaking his back. And Linger told me that bull crawled out of the arena. I didn't see it, but Linger told me about it. Sonny Linger, that was the shoot boss, Butler Brothers. And he said that he they got a deal in the back of them pots, the kitchen, they called it. Anyway, he had a place for him back there. He said 27 crawled up the chute, the load chute, got on the truck. He said he got back to Fowler, Colorado. He drug himself off the dadgum truck. Linger said he literally cried when he had to kill that bull. He said his greatest bull he ever was around, but I guarantee you, he impressed me because I got married on the 27th and I got engaged on the 27th, so I wouldn't forget it.
Yeah. Huh.
But the buckinest bull, I never got on him, that I ever saw was a bull called Speedy Gonzalez. He came from Dick Ratchin in the Panhandle of Texas. And was one of them rodeo outfits from up north. I don't know if it was McKee or I just can't remember, but he died never being ridden. He's the only bull I know that never got rode. He was a black Brangus bull that licked his fanny, And if they didn't open up the catch pen gate, he'd go jumping. I saw him 2 times at the college finals in '65. He died, I think, of dust pneumonia in 1966. But Cornell got on him. I did see this. In 1963, when Cornell won the world, he got on, and Cornell was 19 years old when he won the world. He got on Speedy Gonzalez, and he didn't ride him a jump. That dude threw him up in the air. I mean, he could buck. He's buckingest one I ever saw, but nobody knows him.
Right.
You know,
Right.
they don't know who Speedy Gonzalez was, but he was a bucker. But 27, and I got on another one, a Charolais bull called Bad Scamp, 335 Bad Scamp of Summits. And Summit might have been the outfit that owned Speedy Gonzalez. But this Bad Scamp, now he bucked. He was another one.
They should have gave 27 a good catchy name. It sounded like he deserved to have a good name.
He didn't. They never did name him. He wasn't. He come from Mesquite. Donnie will vouch for everything I say about him. I tell you what, when you were pulling your rope, I got on him twice. And he's the first bull I ever got on when I got my card. I had him at Odessa. But Jerome Robinson told me he heard about it at Denver. I didn't go to Denver that year because I was, in college. But he said he heard him talk about some kid nearly riding 27 at Odessa. And, Dan Willis was there and Dickie Cox. And Dan told me years later that him and Dickie had talked about getting me and paying my entry fees for half of what I'd win.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't have done it. But they were there when I got on 27. And I rode him right to the whistle. And he throwed me off. Threw me down underneath him, but he missed me. He never got me. But he would hook your fanny. He wanted the guy that, like at Nampa, Idaho. I didn't see this, but my brother-in-law did. Him and Bobby Hungate. And they're calf ropers, but they stayed to watch 27. And they had to drag him in the chute with a tractor. 2 pickup horses couldn't pull him in. He weighed about 1,900, and he was a big brindle. Anyway, they drug him in the chute, and they said he was a panting. Drug him in with a tractor. They put chains on his head and drug him in. And they said he was sweating and panting, and Harold Leftwich got on him. Billy said he jumped out of that chute so high, he never seen a bull jump that high. Turned back, he jerked old Harold down, broke his jaw, and broke his arm. You did not want to get on him if he was mad. Because when you're pulling your rope, that dude, like an Odessa, that bull would go, he growl at you. You think it didn't make you pucker up now, buddy? It makes you think.
Like
he was.
Yeah. You gave me goosebumps. You just telling it.
I tell you what, these guys nowadays, they fiddle around too damn much. Well, them in the 27 would suck that helmet off their head and give it back to them. I'd laugh. Linger wouldn't put up with it. I guarantee you, they'd either nod their head or he'd jerk the gate open.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be none of that pinching him on the neck either. I see him reach up there. I never did mess with them bulls. I didn't want them. I wanted in and out of there, buddy. I didn't want to mess with them.
No, that's the most dangerous spot there is in the chute, isn't it?
Well, yeah. They mess with them bulls. Well, I think they've taken the hook out of all the bulls. They ain't no hooking bulls anymore. They ain't not, well, you watch them. They ain't none of them going to hook, and most of these guys get thrown down underneath them, and that'd be the last place I'd want to be.
Right.
I tell you what, when I was young, I could step off and go, buddy. I could run a 40 in about pretty fast. And that's all you need.
Right.
You damn right.
Amen.
They didn't catch me if I got off and took one step, I was gone.
Did you ever do much flying going to rodeos?
I did in the summertime. A few times I would lease an airplane, and we leased a twin engine one time. It was in '75, And me and Chick Helms and Denny Flynn, that's when he got stuck there at Salt Lake. We had that airplane. And Mark Tompkins, Harry Tompkins' son, he became an airline pilot. But this is before he became an airline pilot. He flew us around. And we had that plane for about a month or two. I remember we went to Salinas. We had it Cheyenne. But, I would lease one. I think I did it for 2 or 3 years.
Did you ever have to kiss the ground when you landed any?
No.
Nope.
No.
Didn't you have to have a pilot license to lease a plane, or would they just lease you anybody?
No. I'd get a pilot to fly. We'd pay like Mark. We didn't pay them hardly nothing. They do it for a little bit of nothing. But Mark Tompkins, and I had a guy that Mike Mills. He's still a good friend. He lives at Granbury, and he became an airline pilot at Frontier. And he flew me, and we had a 210 lease. And then Billy McKesson, he was an airline pilot. He flew me, and Mark Tompkins. But I'd get somebody. I didn't handle. I did start to take lessons, but I never finished them. In fact, we bought them, or I did. Me and some other guys were going to go together to buy, and we bought a 182, but then it wasn't working out, so we sold it. But I never did finish getting a license to fly.
Yeah.
But I did solo, and I made Denny get in with me. Somebody said, I can't believe Flynn got in with you, and you just learning how to fly. I said, well, I wanted to show him that I could do it.
Right.
Anyway.
We heard Denny's version of the other day of when he got horned. What was it like to be there with him? What was that deal like?
Oh, well, it was something to see. It's like, the way I looked at it, it was like you might be in Vietnam and you see your best friend get gut shot. Because when that bull just jumped and kicked, circled around, and Denny was going to get off by the catch pen gate there, and he reached and grabbed it, but then he changed his mind, but it had him kind of strung out, on the end of his arm. Well, he reached back up. Of course, he's strung out. He's reached back up to get his tail. And when he did, that bull kicked all at the same time. When it did, it shot him up over his head. And as he's going up over his head, that bull threw his head up, and that horn went in. Then, of course, it just flipped him out of there real hard. And he hit the ground and he grabbed his stomach. And he got, I wasn't 10, 15 foot from him. He jumped up, run over and said, Majers, I've been gutted. I said, what? And I grabbed his hands and I pulled him back, and his intestines flipped out. And boy, you talk about jump around. Anyway, I had a re-ride coming, and Flynn, they laid him on the ground right there, and I jumped up on the chute gate, and I told that flank man, I said, you can take that re-ride and shove it. I ain't getting on. I'm going to the hospital with him. And later on, Flynn said, you're the only guy I know that can make a dying man laugh. Anyway, we ride to the hospital, load up, and I told Butch Kirby to get my stuff, the gear bag and the shafts and my rope, and get Denny's. And
did you think he was going to die?
Oh, yeah. I really did. I mean, I was saying prayers for him and keeping him awake. I didn't want him to go to sleep. We get to the hospital, and they got him stabilized, and they come out and said things were okay, that they would operate on him in the morning. And we went back out there that morning and checked on him. And then, of course, we had to leave to go to some more rodeos. And I told him, I said, because we had that twin engine. Mm-hmm. And I said, we fly back up there and get you. And anyway, a guy named McKim, a friend of his from Arkansas, he flew out there and got Denny and got him back home. And then it was probably 2 months that he came back, and we went to Memphis, Tennessee, and to Madison Square Garden. And Denny either won it or won second at Memphis, and it was him or I won first and won second. We won first and second, but I don't remember which way. And then he won second at Madison Square Garden, and he made the finals that year and won the NFR average.
Yeah,
I thought
that's got to be one of the greatest comebacks in the history of sports, doesn't it? To get gutted and then win the finals.
I think it's the greatest comeback in PRCA history. And it's like on his first bull, he had a muley bull at Memphis, and everything's all right. We fly up to Madison Square Garden. He's got another muley there. Well, we come back, he's got a horn bull. And he was talking to the guys, and he said, "Man, I don't want to get on that bull." And they said, "Well, you don't have to if you don't want to." I wouldn't get on. Well, I knew that wasn't going to fly. And so I waited till everybody got away, and I got him over in the corner, and I said, "Look, Flynn, you got to get on this bull." I said, "If you don't get on this bull just because he's got horns, you will never get on another bull." And to this day, he'll agree that my little talk straightened him up. But when he got off that bull, he jerked his hand out of that rope so fast that it left that glove with a grip on it, and it held that rope on there for at least 5 seconds. And that bull, Denny was running in air when he got away from him, and that rope stayed on that bull, like I say, 3 to 5 seconds, like somebody had a hold of it. But it finally come off. But I've never seen that happen again. But he jerked his hand out so fast that it left it there.
Wow.
But yeah, Flynn was awful tough.
Yeah.
He could ride them bulls. Well,
you and him would have had a bunch of world championships if it hadn't been for that little guy called Donnie Gay.
I always tell people, I say, well, Denny had 3 world titles, I'd have had 2. I said, that's 5 of Donnie's, 8.
Right.
But I said, he just, I honestly don't think if it had been Hedeman or Sharp or anybody, I don't care who, they wasn't going to beat Donnie. And I'm not talking about talent-wise. I'm talking about what he had. He had his attitude was entirely different than any of us, because riding bulls, once you learn how to ride them, you're going to buck off. You got to contend with bucking off. And Donnie, it didn't make a hoot if he bucked off 3 or 4 in a row. He still, in his heart and soul, he believed he's the toughest guy that ever nodded his head. And that's something, you can give lip service and say, yeah, I'm tough. I'm the toughest guy out there. But to believe it in your heart and soul, that's a different ball game.
Well, that takes me to the next question. If you was making a Mount Rushmore of bull riders, who would you put on it? Need 4 names.
4?
Yeah.
It'd be Donnie Gay, Jim Shoulders, Denny Flynn, and Harry Tompkins.
That's a pretty good
That'd
list.
be my pick. That'd be my list.
That's a hard list to argue with.
I'll tell you what, I'll take them 4 guys I just rattled and throw in Gene Lida for the 5th. And I'll match against anybody you come up with. Anybody. I don't care who it is.
What do you think about the Brazilians?
Well, I'll put it this way. They wouldn't be waving that flag around in front of my face if I was a bull rider riding. because they should be kissing the ground here at the United States that they're getting this opportunity.
They're riding pretty good. Old that Adriano Marias.
Yeah, to me, they're musclers. You know, they talk about working out. You need muscles like a swimmer to be a bull rider. You don't need bulk. Bulk will get ripped up. I'm a perfect example. I got holes in both of my legs and both biceps. But you need to have long, lean. You need to have muscles like a swimmer. It's like I really laugh about they talk about gym rat working out and all that. Well, during my day, you didn't have time to go to no gym. You were either driving to a rodeo or, you didn't have time for that. Our workout would be, do you remember the wheelies they had, little wheel that you'd use to do setups with?
I never done any of those.
Okay. Well, I would, at a motel, when we get to the motel, I'd do setups, push-ups, and I had that wheelie and I had a jump rope. I'd do that. I'd do it before I went to sleep. And that's the way most guys did. As far as I know, there wasn't nobody going to no gym. They didn't have time to go to no gym. When you're rodeoing full time, you don't have time to go to no gym.
Back then,
but I don't know how it is
shape.
now.
Going to the rodeo dances, probably, Jimbo, dancing all night.
Right.
That's right. Shoot, I don't know. But you don't have time. It shows those Brazilians that they're at their homes. They got the big gym fixed up and everything. But you don't ride bulls with muscle. You don't. You just don't. You ride with finesse, and a lot of them aren't riding. They're like grabbing a greyhound with a hay hook. And that's, if you watch the bull riders, they're not staying on their rope. They're riding off of, they're just hanging on. They're not riding. And I mean, a proven fact is a lot of them go to the finals riding 20% of the bulls they get on. It's like I said before. You'd be flipping burgers at a Dairy Queen trying to get you some entry fee money if you were riding 20%. Because I guarantee you, Denny Flynn and Donnie Gay rode 75 to 80% of the bulls are getting on. And even the Brazilians that you just brought up, if one of them rides 60%, they're lucky. Most of them don't even ride 50%.
They're fixing to start riding a high percentage of those bulls. Because they're going to make the qualified time for a ride 6 seconds instead of 8.
I laugh at that.
That's what I hear.
I can't believe it. I can't believe they're going to 3 seconds on a calf. Did you see that the other day?
I've been hearing all about it.
At the WCO, whatever that is, I don't know what that is, but 3 seconds.
Well, some of the PRCA rodeos are like that. Houston, I think it is. You
I
just
can't
get
believe
back to
it.
your horse, and these guys come in and get a hold of a calf.
Calgary, I don't even think you got to get back to your horse. There's no time limit.
I know.
That I know of.
I changed it all up. They got the only thing I like about it is they got the money out there. Got the money.
They're fixing to start riding a high percentage of them when they only got to stay on 6 seconds, though.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know why they would do that, but they've bred all the fight out of the bulls, and it's like I saw somebody post one of the Brazilians riding this high jumping bull blowing in the air. When they blow in the air and they get high like that, they ain't got no hump to them. They don't have no power. You can waller around and ride one. I can think of bulls during the Donnie Gay era that these guys couldn't even think about riding. They didn't turn back right there. One of them ducking, diving down through their deals, they're hard to ride. But they're not riding them. They're just hanging on to them. It's just a different deal. And it don't make any difference what I say. Ain't nobody gonna say that old man don't know what he's talking about. But at least it's like I said, I loved the time I got in because I got to see the Harry Tompkins, the Jim Shoulders, the Jack Bush Bombs, all those kind of guys that
George
really
Paul.
worked. Yeah, he was during my time.
You got to see all the greats. You got to ride with all the greats. Sounds like.
I get right. It's like Jim Shoulders and Harry Tompkins was still getting on when I got in. And I got to see all the Ronnie Rosin, Bob Wagner. I can't even think of their names now, but
Joe Green.
There was Joe Green, Phil Hyman, all these guys. They were some tough bull riders. Dallas Chartier. I can't even think of any right now. My mind's going blank. But no, it was a fun time, and I told Denny, I said, I'm glad that we rode during our time. I said, we got to see the greatest bull riders there ever was.
Tell us about your horse breeding program you got, Randy.
All right, my father-in-law was Earl Albin, the man that owned Royal King. I'll have to give you a little quick scenario of Royal King. He's still in the bloodline of all the winners in the cutting, especially the cutting horse business now. Metallic Cat is the number one gun now as far as the cutting horse stuff goes, and even in the reining horse deal. And Metallic Cat it's got Royal King just ooching out. But my daddy-in-law owned Royal King. When Royal died in 1971, he had a dispersal sale. I bought 13 head at that sale. And I remember I gave about $3,000. And my dad told me, said, son, you went into the quarter horse business very cheap. But my dad, he raised quarter horses too. And in 1965, he gave me 5 broodmares. Well, I brought them broodmares down here to my daddy-in-law and put them out on his ranch. And he had, this one Royal was still alive. And he'd breed the mares for me. And then he had a sale a biannual sale every other year. And he'd put them in his sale and sell them. Anyway, that's kind of the way I got going. And, of course, I was still rodeoing. Well, this was 1965, so 1967 was when I started rodeoing. But I've always had the quarter horses. And it's like my wife had a son of Royal King that was a really, really good barrel horse. And she got her WPRA permit. We went to Clear Lake, South Dakota on our way to Laramie, Wyoming. And she won second in the barrels there, and I won fourth in the bull riding. We won about $700, and we thought, boy, this is good.
Yeah.
That was 1965, I believe, 1965 or 1966. But I've always been around the horses. It's like I said, my dad bought Pocativio in 1950. He only kept him a year. He gave $5,000 for him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when horses were bringing $500 and $600. And then he sold him for $15,000 to Don Dodge. He went to California. And my father-in-law with the Royal King, I bought 2 own daughters of Royal King from my father-in-law. And I bred them to Doc Links, and I kind of got things going there. But I've always been around the good horses. But to give you an idea of Royal King, there's between 6.5 million and 7 million quarter horses registered in the world. Out of that number, there's only 6 that have historical markers. 6 of them and Royal King's got one in the Comanche County Courthouse Square. So that's kind of a big thumbs up for Royal King. But that's the kind of impact he's had on the quarter horse world. And then going back to what you asked about me and my breeding program, I've kept the Royal King top and bottom coming through the female side on all my horses. I haven't ever bought one. I have raised all of them. My mares, some of my mares are 27, 28 years old now. There's 2 of them out there. Of course, they don't have no more babies, but I've just got a small little group. I've got 8 brood mares, and I did have a Pepto Boone Small's son that I stood, but he went sterile 2 years ago. He's 27 now, and I just feed him. So I don't really have a stud now, but Spanky Brown that I rodeoed with, he's got a highbrow cat stud that he breeds a couple of my mares to up in Oklahoma. So I still dabble with it.
And Cody, I forgot to mention there, he was named the AQHA 50-Year Breeder Award. He won that, which is really a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I got that in 2022, which I'm very proud of. In fact, I'm as proud of that as going to the qualifying for the finals 9 times.
Yeah, I imagine.
Because you got to stay hooked to get that deal.
Yeah,
but
50 years.
Yeah, but I've got a couple of horses with Bobby Lewis up in Oklahoma, over at Overbrook, Oklahoma.
That's a big name in the horse business, Bobby Lewis.
Yes,
for a long time.
And the 2 horses I've got are real good roping horses. He placed with one of them. He took one of them to Houston, and he won. He placed with him down there. But anyway, I still dabble with them. I wouldn't sell them if I could get them off. But that bull that stepped on me at Crowley's messed up my rotator cuff, and I can't rope anymore. I'm lucky I can brush my hair. But anyway, I like looking at the horses and messing with them.
Well, sounds like just a good life he's living down there in Comanche.
Yeah.
Well, it gives me something to do instead of just sitting on my fanny. Have to get out and feed them and take care of them. Yeah. And then I got to market them somewhere or another because I can't keep them all.
If somebody wanted to buy one of your colts, how would they get a hold of your what? How's that?
Oh, well, I've got a website. It's runningmquarterhorses.com, and they could just call me here in Comanche. I've got a cell phone, and that number is 325-330-3700, and my home number, I got a landline, it's 325-356-2619.
You said you still had an old rotary phone with a 12-foot cord on it, didn't you?
I certainly do. It's a rotary dial hanging on the kitchen wall.
Young people today wouldn't even know how to use it, would they?
No, they wouldn't know about a rotary dial.
Yeah, my girls were like, "How do you push the button on one of these the other day?" I had an old rotary phone showing it to them. How do you push the buttons? I said, "Well, you don't. You put your finger down in that hole and you swirl it over till
there ain't no buttons to push."
I am proud. My 14-year-old daughter the other day, I look up and she's driving my wife's Jeep around, and it's a standard. So she's driving it all over the place at the house, and she knows how to shift them gears and use a clutch. So I'm pretty proud of that right now.
That's unusual for
that is unusual. There was a lady down the road here had her 80th birthday. Well, I drive my dually down there, and she had valet parking and stuff. And I pull up there, and my dually's a 6-speed. These valet parkers, they get in, they go, I can't drive this. I don't know how to shift it. And I said, well, I'll go park it. And anyway, there was somebody there that another one of the valet guys said I can drive it, but they didn't know how they didn't know how to drive.
Lucky you had a clutch left when you got back.
No kidding.
Well, we sure appreciate you coming on today, telling us all these great stories.
I appreciate you having me. It's been fun talking about it, about rodeo and the old time days.
I forgot to ask you if you knew old Buddy Heaton, the old.
I knew. Yes, my dad did. He introduced me. Who did he fight bulls with? Buddy Heaton.
I don't remember. He lived with us for a couple of years when he got out of prison when I was a kid. So I always try to ask all you old bull riders about Buddy.
Yeah, I didn't know. I met him at Fort Worth when I was a little kid because Daddy knew him. He was Buddy Heaton and somebody else, but I can't remember who the else is.
They said he was a wild one.
I don't. I just remember I remember his name.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But it was at Fort Worth, and he was Buddy Heaton, and I can't remember who the other guy was.
Old Buck LeGrand, he was from up in our area right here in Osage County.
Yes, I knew Buck. I tell you what, I can tell you a quick story about him. It was my first year, Dan Willis. I'm visiting with him at Cheyenne. Well, I got this bull R50. He would hook you, big blamer. And Willis said, "You better go buy Buck a fifth of whiskey if you want him to save you." And I went, okay. So I go down to the liquor store and I buy a fifth of whiskey. I bring it back and give it to Buck. Well, this R50 blows out through there, and I run across a picture I had of me laying on my butt out there, and he trying to hook me, and Buck's on his head. And it said Majers got away unscathed or something. And I gave him that fifth of whiskey, and he jumped on that bull's head and saved my life. And I win the go-round at Cheyenne in 1967.
Holy moly. Well, yeah, I think it was worth it.
And money well spent.
It was, you damn right it was worth it.
I'd have bought him another bottle when I got done with that deal.
Dan said, "You better be glad you bought him that whiskey, or he'd have never jumped on that bull's head for you."
We could talk about this stuff all day long. I love it, Jimbo.
Yeah, me too. Love the old history.
Yes, sir. And this is one of the top guys of his era of all time. I'm going to say of all time. The only guy to have a write-off for the world champion. Right. Now, that's something.
I know it.
I just can't shake that right there.
Probably never do happen again either.
And he rode the bull. Still didn't win it.
Yeah. But, boy.
Dang it.
Well, no, now I got thrown off.
Oh, okay. The bull before, your 10th bull you both rode. I'm sorry.
I rode the other. Yeah, I rode the one that I had in the go-round ring eye, but he didn't buck good, and neither one of us placed in that go-round. So that's what created the ride-off.
I bet that was exciting for that crowd.
Oh, you know it. Donnie Gay hogging up all them gold buckles.
He kind of got greedy, didn't
he? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like old Guy Allen.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, be sure to leave us a like, a comment on this, and share it with some folks. We're just trying to keep these old guys' memory alive and trying to keep it going, because we can't look forward to the future of rodeo unless we know where all this rodeo came from. So, and sir, we appreciate having you on the show today.
Oh, I thank y'all for having me. It's been a fun deal talking about old times.
Randy, I'll holler at you when it comes out and give you a little heads up.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Keep in touch.
Okay. You too.
Thanks,
man.
Randy.
If you ever get down this way, be sure and come by the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum. I'll give you a tour.
I would love to come by there. I used to know a man. He passed away from Pahuska. Was Chuck Drummond.
Yeah,
Did y'all know him?
sure.
Knew him good.
Yep.
Knew all the Drummonds.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think they got a restaurant there, don't they?
His daughter-in-law does. Yeah.
Yes, the daughter-in-law. Yes, because he used to put on cuttings at Warrika, and me and Spanky and I'd go there all the time, and it was a lot of fun. He came by. Chuck came by here one time. He was going somewhere, come by to visit me and my wife here in Comanche.
Yeah.
But I liked Chuck. He was a good guy.
Right here in the museum, we got a big display to Chuck. We got his hat and all of his buckles he won in the cutting
really?
world. And yes, sir, we sure do. He's a pretty famous guy in our parts.
If I ever get up there, I'm coming by.
Okay.
You got it. We'd love to have you.
All right.
And
You
as
bet.
far as that, everyone else come by. Jimbo, during the Ben Johnson on Sunday on the 16th, are you going to come up here and open the museum again this year
I don't know.
and greet some folks?
You hadn't asked me yet.
Well, I'm putting you on the spot now.
Well, I don't know. If somebody here to open it and sell the books and stuff, well, I would.
Okay. Well, we'll see what we can get going.
Okay.
All right, everybody, get up here to Pawhuska. Come to the Ben Johnson Museum. Get online. Check out the Buck and Flamingo Turquoise Shop. We have a big sale every Sunday night, 7 p.m., right on the Facebook. And get over here and eat you an Indian taco at the Saucy Calf traditional Native American food.
Well, Cody, I stopped by the other day and ordered a sack full of fry bread, and I ate on that for 2 or 3 days. You talk about good.
I can tell you gained a few pounds
Well,
since I
have.
saw you last, Jimbo.
Since you opened that damn cafe.
All right, this has been another great edition of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast. Hey, we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, Randy.